Hey guys, this is Aiden with Strew Family Farms, and we're back out here today swathing our oats. So this is July 17th, or 16th, my bad. So July 16th, and we're out here swathing our organic oat crop. And so things are looking pretty good. We planted these oats back first beginning of April, so they were April 3rd. So we got them in pretty good and early. And so we're right on track for having our nice mature golden oats out here, guys. And so we're swathing. The way we do our oats, some of you may not be familiar with this, but we swath them into windrows, and then we have a pickup header on our combine and come back and pick the windrows up. And so a few key benefits of that are, especially in this scenario I'm going to show you, is that we had some wind, and so our oats are kind of a mess. We have a lot of down to oats, and a good portion of this field I've kind of been battling with it. Just because you can see, if we look out here, that they're just laid down pretty close to the ground and kind of a tangled mess. And over there it's not quite so bad. I got most of the field done, and it was most over here was pretty bad, and then this last little bit is going to be better, so I'll get to that shortly. But the key things with the swather is I can cut significantly lower with our swather, so we're getting most of these oats that are down still. If you're combining, most of the time you can't run this close to the ground, and then you're gonna be leaving a lot of stuff out here and just have a big old mess. But with our swather, you can see we're getting like I'm gonna say 95% of it picked up. There's only a very few spots that it was just completely flat on the ground, on the hilltops over that way, and I couldn't get it, but most of it is getting picked up and laid into our nice pretty windrows, and we'll be able to combine it. And then when we had that wind too, it also gave us some baseball sized hail, so we did lose some of the heads on the oats. If you look down at the ground, there's some heads kind of sprinkled around, but I don't think it'll be too bad. There's still a lot of good heads left on the oats, and so yeah, they're looking pretty good. So that's one key to using the swather. And another one is, especially when we're underseeding, you can see how nice and green it is already, because we got a beautiful stand of alfalfa in here actually. But when we're swathing, or when you're combining your oats, you're going to have some of your alfalfa, and if you got any weeds, or foxtail or anything coming in your oats, when you swath it and let it sit, we'll let these sit for a couple days before we combine. It lets that green material dry out before it goes through the combine, and it just combines so much nicer and cleaner. It seems like it's just a lot nicer on the combine. And yeah, so that's another key thing. Honestly, guys, I'm not sure that I would raise oats for grain if I didn't have a swather and pickup head. We tried it our first couple of years to direct cut, and we could just never get it to work. It seemed like between any weeds that were in there that were so green that got in our grain sample, or them laid down, that it never was very successful. But with our swather and pickup head, we can, even on years like this where we do have our windstorms, we can get, the majority of our crop picked up, even if it does get laid down. And I mean, we had 60-mile-an-hour wind and baseball size hail, so usually you don't get that every year, but this is one of those years that I guess we're kind of getting hit 2 years in a row, but that's okay. So we're getting the oats picked up, laid into windrows, and then we'll come back with our combine and combine the oats off, and then we'll have nice windrows of straw that we'll come back in small square bale into bedding that we will just sell. We won't use that for our personal animals, but that'll just be a cash crop that we will market this winter and fall. So that's what we're doing, guys. I'll give you a couple views of the swather in action. This is our Heston swather. It's a 6450. It's got an 18-foot Draper head on it. As you can see, the Draper head's the key thing, obviously, because it has the belts, so it lays the crop into a windrow very gently and keeps it all intact so that all your oats are on there. And then it just has kind of the paddle wheel on it, which works pretty good actually. If I get a ball in the head, especially when the oats are down like this, it can plug up. You can see I got a few kind of spots where I had to stop, like over here and whatnot, because they were laid down really flat. But then I can just lift my header up and kind of lower my reel, and it'll spit it through. So that works pretty nice. But we like the 18-foot cut because when we're small square baling, which we do with all of our straw pretty much, if you have more than 18 foot of material then it gets to be too much for the baler. And this is just a nice nice windrow size for the combine too. I mean, they're pretty good heavy windrows, but if that way you don't have to worry about slugging as much when we're only cutting 18 foot compared to, you know, if you're trying to do 20 or 25 with some of the bigger ones. This just seems to work really good. And with the self-propelled swather, compared to a pole type, that's the reason we went with the self-propelled, is because when we got this, we did have a lot of downed oats, and so one weighing with this is so much easier. If you do have to do that, it's not ideal, but there'll be years where you know, have to one weigh. If these were any worse, I probably would, just to be able to get them all up. And I mean, if you're doing that, then it's obviously a lot slower, but sometimes it's what you have to do. But with this, it's much easier to just zip around and, yeah, kind of go whatever direction you need and get everything picked up nice and clean, so that when you're done, you got a nice clean field of alfalfa that'll be growing. And then, yeah, we'll probably get a couple cuttings off that. But that's our swather. Nothing super fancy. I think it's a late 80s Heston. We actually went to South Dakota and picked it up, but it's been a good machine for us. And yeah, it definitely makes growing oats and harvesting a lot easier, in my opinion, because if I was out here with the combine trying to just direct cut these, I would not be super happy. It would be a mess, and yeah, it would make some very long days. But this isn't near as bad. I'll get the windrows laid out, the weeds or any of the green will dry down, and then we'll come through and combine, and yeah, it'll be a pretty sight when everything's combined out here. So thanks again, guys.